In early December of 1967, KRAB received one of an innumerable shipment of tapes from KPFA in Berkeley. We auditioned them all, and one of them was outstanding, or gripping, or at least different. It was a talk given by the Reverend James Bevel of Chicago, as delivered at the University of California at Berkeley. It was and is an angry speech. Bevel, a Negro, is trying in this speech to describe his view of the whole racial mess and how he feels the white community has emasculated itself through a merely intellectual approach to the Negro problem. It was and is a frightening, outraged, beautiful, ironical talk. It is, as well, a rough talk with rough language. Although some words have been deleted, there remain some which people still might shy away from. These are rough, angry words to express rough, angry thoughts, and I imagine it's because of these that we lost our tape to the forces of law and order. The program was played as a sneak preview on the morning program of December 9th. It was scheduled into the program guide for the evening of December 27th. Exactly 10 days before the scheduled second playing, a local official of the Federal Communications Commission came to KRAB to confiscate the tape. After some protest by us about the unreasonableness of this demand, he got our one copy of the talk. He left us with the warning that the next day, December 18th, KRAB would be subjected to an official inspection of the premises of by the FCC. The next day he came back to the station. We were inspected, and the James Bevel tape was returned to us. We were told that the tape had been copied for forwarding to the Washington, D.C. office of the FCC, along with a photostat of the tape label with our comments on it, and the log showing that it had actually been presented on KRAB. This official went on to suggest that we should try to bring our operation closer to that of KJR, the local rock and roll station. He said, "They're very careful. We don't get complaints about them as we do about KRAB." Well, all this would have been bad enough, but what surprised and frightened us was that the official, acting in his official capacity, expressed a personal sense of outrage that KRAB had played such a talk as this. The official became a true Kafkaesque character, one who managed to integrate personal power and personal disgust at our programming. He left us with the feeling that we'd be hearing more, far more from him and from the FCC on this matter. Now, we should never lose sight of the fact that as a government body, the FCC wields great power over broadcasters. Through official inquiries, this government body, which has the power of licensing broadcasters and thus the power of life and death over them, can create no end of trouble and inordinate legal expenses. The FCC is not to be tampered with, and most broadcasters go out of their way to avoid trouble with this body. I should add as a footnote that the FCC can also be very benign. KRAB is, I suppose, one of the few broadcast stations in the country which was visited benignly by two full FCC commissioners. Commissioner Kenneth Cox came to KRAB in the summer of 1967 at our invitation to be interviewed, and then in the fall of the same year, last year, Commissioner Nicholas Johnson came at his own request to spend almost an hour with us so we could tell him some of the problems of listener-supported radio in a city like Seattle. For broadcasters, such interest of FCC commissioners is an honor indeed. The FCC has responsibilities to exercise care in its power of licensing broadcast stations. The Communications Act of 1934 specifically states that the FCC shall in no way indulge in censorship of programs. The creators of that government body were wisely concerned that freedom of speech through broadcasting should in no way be curtailed. And this is where the issue has been joined with Reverend James Bevel and KRAB and a local official of the FCC. In the month that we've had to stew over this event, we've come to feel that this confiscation of tape was a case pure and simple of censorship. Censorship of the cruelest form, for it created in us a deep sense of fear over the future of KRAB, the disposition of our valuable license, and all the deep questions of government control. We've decided to rebroadcast the James Bevel tape. We've done so fully aware of the dangers to our permit, our broadcast license. We, and now I'm speaking for the Board of Directors of the Jack Straw Memorial Foundation, which is the parent corporation of KRAB, have met and discussed at great length the possible consequences of the act of rebroadcasting of this material, and we've decided that we must replay it. The FCC, in its rules, has very wisely demanded that broadcast licensees should have full responsibility for the material they broadcast. They, the broadcasters alone, must act on behalf of the public interest, convenience, and necessity. No one else can be responsible, and if the broadcaster fails in this duty, he's subject to the revocation of his license. We here at KRAB feel that we would be sabotaging the public interest, convenience, and necessity if we didn't play the James Bevel tape at this time. For despite his strong language, a language that is an integral part of his message, James Bevel is trying to tell us something important, trying to express a crucial view of Negro-white relations in this country. KRAB has always been a forum for the dispossessed. We've opened this frequency at 107.7 megacycles in Seattle to hundreds of different viewpoints about hundreds of different subjects. We've done this not because we agree with any one speaker, we couldn't conceivably do so, but because the miracle of free speech in this country lends itself to knowledge and understanding of so many disparate viewpoints, even those which may be offensive to us. For by understanding the 100 voices of antagonism, one can and does become an active, knowing, and thinking part of the democratic system. James Bevel doesn't speak for KRAB. No one does really. But James Bevel is a representative of an important and sometimes frightening new force at work in America. By failing to play this talk, KRAB would be doing a disservice to its listeners, denying them the knowledge of the important forces around them. We would be saying, in effect, that the license of KRAB is more important than freedom of speech and freedom of knowledge. We simply cannot, as responsible broadcasters, ignore this duty. We'd be foolish not to play the words of James Bevel.